Alright, so we got another box of Twilight Masquerade, and we just came back from LA Regionals. Let's go ahead and run through how it went. Alright, so at the LA Regionals, I took the deck Charizard EX. Now, I was sort of expecting there to be at least some more Charizards, but mainly more Snorlax block deck, but it looked like there wasn't that many, or at least I didn't get paired up against many. But overall, it was a real exciting regionals. I didn't really think that you would face so many different decks, but I believe every round that I played was a different deck. Now, my record for going into the LA Regionals was 2-4. I got 2 wins kind of early, and then sort of fizzled out towards the middle of it. But yeah, we basically just went 2-4, and then we dropped. A lot of the games, there were some misplays that I could have fixed, but I think there were at least 2 of the games where I needed to have Manaphy on my bench. Ooh, Luxray EX. I needed to have Manaphy on my bench because she protects my bench from sniping Pokemon. So against Chien Pao and against Lost Zone Box, I needed her to be out and protect my bench from that Radiant Greninja's attack. But in the 4 games that I played against those decks, she was in the prizes, believe it or not. And I believe that those were the only games. Frostlass and a double Frostlass. Let's go. A double Frostlass hit. Nice. But yeah, in those 4 games, when I needed her most, she was in the prizes. And I believe in all of my other games where she never got to see play, she was actually in my deck. So it was really unfortunate that she wasn't in my deck when I needed her most. But there were a couple of games where, yeah, I made a couple of misplays. I believe the first round that I had was against Charizard EX, and that was the only mirror match that I actually got to play. We basically got through game 1. I barely took it. At the end, he needed to find a boss's orders. He thinned his deck as much as he could. He Iono'd, he tried to bib back up his hand, but still could not find that boss's order. So I ended up taking the first game, and that game took probably around like 40 minutes because we only had like 10 minutes left in the round to finish essentially 1, maybe 2 more games. But because we didn't finish our second game, I actually took that set. Yeah, it was quite a rough battle. It was survival breaks. We got our first A spec of the box. Alright, first A spec of the box. Alright, so feeling after my first round, got that first round win off of game 1. In the second game, we faced off against a Lugia player. I didn't have much practice against Lugia. I probably should have practiced a little bit more over Pawn EX, the fire one. But yeah, I think for the first game, he actually managed to get both of his Archeops set up out of his first hand. So first hand, he had double Archeops and an Ultra Ball. So he was able to get his Lugia V from the start. Archeops, both of them, or use the Ultra Ball to put the Archeops into the discard pile to get his Lugia V-Star so that his next turn was all ready to go. And my hand was kind of dead. I believe I didn't even get 1 Charizard or 1 Charmander out for my first turn. I didn't have any supporters in my hand, so I pretty much had to scoop game 1. Game 2, it was also quite rough. I got a little bit more set up, but by the time the end game was drawing up, he had double Archeops on the board, 2 Minchinos, or 2 Chinchinos that were ready to attack. They were all loaded up with energy, and he still had his Lugia V-Star on the bench. So I also lost that round too. It's not really a quick 2-0 loss, but yeah, Lugia V is definitely a rough matchup for me. In the third round, that's when we faced off against the Lost Box player. So the Lost Box player, he was a really cool guy. He said he'd been playing Pokemon for about like 16 years or something. But he was also very good at playing the game. Unfortunately for him, in his first game, he managed to, in his very first flower selecting, he had to flower select away his prime catcher, his A spec of choice. But of course, as soon as I saw that, I tried to take advantage. Blood Moon Ursaluna. Yeah, I tried to take as much advantage as I could, but looking through my prize mapping or through my prize checking, Manaphy was nowhere to be seen. So pretty much turn 2 for him was Mirage Gate, get his Rating Greninja set up, and just snipe my bench. Ooh, double Blood Moon Ursaluna. I think I now have 4 of these full art Blood Moon Ursalunas. I don't think they're very difficult to pull that one compared to all the other full arts. I need to look and see what the other full arts look like. I think Blood Moon Ursaluna is the only one I've been able to see so far. But yeah, back to the Lost Zone match. Turn 2, Rating Greninja knocks out my Pidgey and my Charmander from my bench. I had 2 more Charmanders already set up, so if I was able to get Rare Candy Charizard, or even having that Charmeleon play would help, but I couldn't find the pieces to get a Charizard out, and so his next turn, he was able to get Rating Greninja set up again and snipe both my Charmanders. At that point, I only had a Rotom and Bidoof on my bench, so it was a quick Game 1 scoop. Game 2, I was like, alright, that was an unfortunate start. Hopefully, my Manaphy is not prized again. It was. So yeah, during my second game, he got his same setup. I went Timber. Okay, pretty nice. During game 2, I was able to get that same wide spread board, but yeah, just like game 1, Manaphy was prized. So in the first rounds that he had, did the same Rating Greninja, snipes my Pidgey and my Charmander, but I also had basically the same setup, so I was able I was able to actually set up my Charizard EX and start actually playing the game. So I got my board set up, we got our Charizard EX set up, and then we just started swinging. We got a couple knockouts, but he basically ended the game with Mirage Gates for his Roaring Moon EX. He had 2 prize cards remaining, because he kept sniping around, but yeah, he basically just Roaring Moon EX, Frenzied Gouging my active Charizard, and that sealed my... Alright, 4th round was the Dialga V-Star deck, the one where you get all your Metangs set up and you just start metal making like crazy, get all your energies out and set up. I actually won the round. He basically, throughout the entire game, he had very unfortunate Metal Makers. A lot of the Metal Makers weren't hitting any of the energies. So even though he started loading some back in, he would start get maybe only 1, maybe 0 load ups from those Metal Makers. So he had quite a rough game, but I think we played it decently well. During the second game, because we only played 2 games, during the second game, he was able to have until 4 cards in deck, but he didn't have enough Super Rods to get his energies from the discard pile back into his deck. So needless to say, he started running out of energy, and it was just a rough time. Alright, round 5, we faced off against Future Hands, but they also had the Iron Leaves. I'm assuming they had the Iron Leaves just for the Charizard counter, because it does hit for weakness. It can one-shot the Charizard EX. So game 1, he got his board like normally set up. I started getting my board set up, and it was going decently well, I think, for the most part. We both got all of our stuff. Iron Thorns EX, that's my first one, I believe. Yeah, it was going decently well. We both got our board set up, but he was just able to find all the pieces that he needed. He got electric generators, getting the Iron Hand set up early. Even the next turn, he got another Iron Hand set up. Hyper Aroma, very nice ace spec. I'm using that in Gardevoir, really nice. But yeah, game 1, he ended up Iron Handing my Lumineon to take 3 prizes and finish off the game, because I wasn't able to get her off the board. So I needed her early to get the Arven supporter in my hand just so I could set up myself, but there was no time for me to actually get her out of play. Second game, we had a tough time trying to get the turn 2 set up. we got only one Mander and one Pidgey all out on the field. Plus, we got the Rotom Dragapult EX, another one of the full art ones. So yeah, we got one Charizard set up and our Pidgeot EX set up, but he was able to Techno Radar and get his Iron Leaves out, which was my greatest fear of the match. So he basically got that out, one shot of my Charizard EX, and then I basically just didn't have any time to set up behind. So that was game 2. Alright, and our last round was against the Chien Pao deck. Now this was also a Manaphy reliant deck due to all the water energy from Excalibur's, being able to load him up onto your Radiant Greninja quite easily without needing to just keep attaching for turn. Yeah, and then they just snipe your bench around. Round 1, I was able to get my board pretty wide. I got the same as I did against the Lost Box player. I got my 3 Manders out, Pidgey, Bidoof, and I believe I also got my Rotom V out, so we can snipe very much. We got Torkoal. That's a nice new card. But yeah, so game 1, I was looking for my Manaphy, couldn't find it, tried to set my board wide, but he Greninja's turn 2, knocks out my Mander and my Pidgey, just like the Lost Zone player, and that was pretty much how the round went. Him just sniping my board around, and I couldn't get set up. Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, nice. Second round, honestly, it was pretty much the same thing. Manaphy was prized. After my distraught look on my face, he basically just did the same thing, set up his Radiant Greninja and sniped around my board because they couldn't be protected. So unfortunate circumstances for those games. Manaphy being locked up behind the prizes, couldn't get her out of the prizes, and yeah, I guess overall it was just sort of a rough experience for just those ones. Definitely could have played better in a lot of the games, but yeah, nothing we can really do when the one piece you need is prized. So as we go into the last 2 packs, I did enjoy my entire experience at LA Regionals. I got to meet a lot of new people, I got to buy a couple new cards, and we also got a new Flareon stuffed animal. We got one of the sitting cuties that are always sold out on the Pokemon Center, so I'm glad I was able to get that partner. Now let's go into our final pack. There's no special illustration rare, so let's hope that there's something lasting in this box. Alright, we're going to take this nice and slow so we can finish off the ending properly. We got the Eevee, Phantom, Slugma, a Swirlix, Handheld Fan, a Morpeko, Conkeldurr, we got a Brute Bonnet, a Litwick, and a full art Lucian. So not a special illustration rare, but we do get a full art. Alright, lucky enough, I actually was able to get an ETB, and we got the special illustration rare pairing. So wasn't a total loss over the weekend. Got some decent pulls from the ETB that we got. So next, still gonna be looking for that Carmine, but we do get a decent amount of pulls. Alright, so we did get 14 pulls. We did get another one of the full art Dragapults, which is going to be one of the more playable decks in the next format. We got also the additional 5 more art cards, 2 of them being full art, and then we got the lovely Frostlass alt art. I've been looking for that. We got both of our egg specs, Hyper Room and Survival Cast, and we got 6 EXs, 3 of them being the Ogerpons, 1 being a new Iron Thorn GX, a Blood Moon Ursaluna, and the Luxray. So let me know what you guys are getting in your boxes, and if you actually went to LA Regionals.